I'm Amy Kotha, and this is the PDA Parenting Podcast. I'm here to walk alongside you as we explore the challenges and the beauty of raising PDA autistic kids. Here you'll find support, practical tools, and encouragement for the hard days, as well as reminders that your presence, your love, and your being is enough. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the PDA Parenting Podcast. So, parenting a PDA child or teen always means that a role is always shifting. And that becomes especially clear during big life transitions. So, today on the show, we're going to talk about scaffolding, cues of safety, and what both our kids and we as parents need during these type of times. Life transitions are hard for all of us. So, moving schools, starting a new job, leaving home, even shifting family routines, all of these things are hard for any of us. But for PDA teens and young adults, these transitions can really feel unbelievably overwhelming to the point of almost being impossible unless we as parents know how to scaffold and create safety for them. So, in this episode, I'm going to talk about what scaffolding really means, how we can help our kids surround themselves with cues of safety, and then how to lower demands through collaboration. I'll also share some reflections about what these transitions mean for us as parents because, hey, our nervous systems are shifting as well. So, what is scaffolding? So, if you don't know the term, in construction, scaffolding refers to those temporary structures that you see, like platform systems that you see on buildings that are under construction. And the scaffolding provides support to enable those workers to safely work at different heights and with different materials. And in construction, it's this physical framework of poles and planks. In education and psychology, it's a metaphorical concept where we're talking about where a more experienced person provides temporary guidance and support to a lesser experienced person or a novice. And then gradually pulling away, gradually removing that scaffolding as the learner becomes more competent. So when I talk about scaffolding, what I mean is it's a temporary structure that we as parents put in place to help our kids reach for something new without collapsing under the weight of it. If you think about scaffolding a building, you know it doesn't stay forever, it's temporary, but without it, the structure probably wouldn't get built. So for PDAers, scaffolding is also an important part of our parenting style. And when we look at teens, adolescents, and young adults, it is absolutely essential for them because of these big life transitions that they go through. So we're not talking about rescuing them from their challenges, and we don't mean forcing independence before they're ready. We're talking about a way of meeting them where they are and then saying, like, let me build this bridge alongside you so that you can get there safely. And something important to note is as parents of PDA kids, our scaffolding isn't one and done. And if you're a PDA parent, you probably already know that. But it is crucially important that we remember that we are playing long game parenting here. So it continually evolves. So the way that I scaffolded my daughter when she was 5 or 10, that is doesn't look anything like the way that I scaffold her at the age of 19. And as our kids grow and develop, our parenting, it has to be fluid, it has to be responsive and constantly adapting, which is part of the complexity of parenting a PDA. It's part of why it's so hard because their nervous systems are fluid, responsive, and constantly adapting. And their needs are shifting with every new environment. So, one of the reasons why I picked today to talk about scaffolding is because my PDA autistic daughter just moved into her college dorm last week for her freshman year. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I cannot believe that we're here, but we are. So, in true PDA fashion, it's been a roller coaster for her this past week. And for me, it's meant learning how to support from a distance and shifting my parenting yet again. And also, I want to note that if you're an adoptive parent like myself, it's important to remember that for these kids, big transitions can also stir up attachment wounds. So even when they're excited and they're ready, those changes can touch on deep layers of safety and belonging and even abandonment fears, which are, in their subconscious, which makes thoughtful, intentional scaffolding even more important. And that's really what scaffolding is about, right? It's about figuring out how to provide the right kind of support in the right season so our kids can step into new experiences without feeling like they're doing it alone. So, one of the most powerful ways that we scaffold is by surrounding our kids with what we call cues of safety. If you're familiar at all with Robin Goebel, which I love her, she is an author, an educator, and I am very lucky to be taking part in her immersion program this year. And so I can call her one of my mentors. Robin explains that a cue of safety is any piece of information that our brain takes in that tells the nervous system it's safe to connect and engage rather than needing to defend against danger. So, cues of safety can come from three places, right? They can come from our inner world, which would be our own body. They can come from our external environment, or they can come from like the person or relationship that we're in. So you probably hear that maybe in other places too, as coming from inside, outside, or in between. So a transition, whether it's a new school, a job, a move, a transition like that throws the PDA's nervous system completely into uncertainty. And uncertainty for these kids is a massive threat, maybe a life threat. So we want to help them prepare for this transition and layer in cues of safety. So, what feels safe to them and what will help them balance or hopefully overpower these cues of threat that they're experiencing or that they're going to be experiencing. We want them to think about preparing themselves to care for their basic needs, which would provide for those internal safety cues that I spoke about. So, it would be like avoiding hunger, right? They need to eat the right nutrients. They need to make sure they're ingesting protein, not just carbs, because I think, we all kind of go towards carbs when we're stressed out. So protein is super important. Also, they need to get adequate sleep. And as parents of PDAers, we know what happens when they don't get adequate sleep. Like you can't build on anything if you don't have that as a base. Also, sunlight is important. Get some vitamin D, get some fresh air, and movement. Our bodies need movement. Our bodies crave movement. Even when we want to lay in bed and hide from the world, we still need to get out and get some movement. So let's first talk about sensory input, right? So sensory input includes things that they can see, hear, smell, taste, or touch. So these inputs are massively important, and we can help them by providing things like physical things such as noise canceling headphones, weighted blankets, cozy lighting. My daughter has a favorite scented candle. It actually smells like fruity cereal, which really grosses me out, but she loves it. So we sent her with her favorite candle as well as a candle warmer because, of course, can't light a candle in a dorm. That would be a massive fire hazard. So she has that safe smell in her room. And then favorite safe snacks. That's always a good one. And these things lead also into what we call emotional safety cues. So, because safe foods and drinks, if you think about those, if you think about your own safe foods and drinks, your favorites, they usually also carry an element of emotional safety with them as well. They can remind us of home, they can remind us of a place or a time where we feel safe or comfortable or happy, something that brings emotional safety. There's also photographs, music playlists, and don't forget the repeating television shows or movies. Those can be extremely calming. Emotional safety can also come from structure and predictability. And that's a tough one, right? Because everything is going to feel new. My daughter moved into her dorm. She's in a different town, a different space, different people, different smells, different sounds. Everything feels different. And we know that our brains are prediction machines. Our brains absolutely love predictability because predictability uses less calories. It's a survival skill. So our brains crave that. And our PDAers, with their very sensitive nervous systems, seem to be even more sensitive to predictability. So, how might they add some of this into their lives right away to help maybe with this transition and to keep it going? So I think about things like wake and sleep times, meal times. When are they eating? When are they having snacks? And then can they keep some of their routines, maybe their morning routine or their nighttime routine? All of these things like click into the brain and they are helpful and safe. For our PDAers, relational safety cues are extremely important. So again, we need to think about this and plan ahead. So, who are their safe people? And then, how can they reach them? When can they reach them? Do they know how to reach them? Do they need a schedule in the beginnings to give a little bit of predictability so that they can make sure that they're reaching their safe people, whether it's you or maybe it's their therapist or, just maybe it's an uncle or an aunt or just a favorite person, a trusted person. All of these things remind their brains and bodies, oh, I know this. I'm safe. And, I always tell parents these are not luxuries, these are literally lifelines. So if you're putting together, for instance, a snack container for your child to take to college, and you have to buy the large Rubbermaid tote for this, don't think that you're spoiling your kiddo, okay? You're not spoiling them by providing this massive set of snacks to keep under their dorm bed. This is actually about giving their nervous system a fighting chance to regulate in a brand new world. So, one of the hardest parts of any life transition for a PDA teen is the sudden increase in demands. So, if we're looking at college, for instance, we're talking about a new school. We're talking about a new place, new environment. Everything is new, and it seems like every piece of it is full of expectations. So, show up here, do this task, meet these people, remember these steps. Everything is new and everything is demanding. So even the fun parts, like making friends, are still demand heavy for a nervous system that is continually scanning for threats. So, how do we help our kids succeed without drowning under all of this? Well, one great way to do that is to collaborate. So, collaboration doesn't mean that we hand them a list of what they should do. Collaboration is more like we're inviting them into the process of figuring out what supports they actually want and they actually need. And this can look like maybe using declarative language instead of directives. So when we're supporting them in advocating for themselves, because let's just, again, college, let's think about college for an example. No staff, no faculty at the college wants to hear from a parent, right? It's not like high school. No one's reaching out to email you to ask for questions or clarification. You have no input, even if you tried to get input, unless you've signed off on the FERPA. And even then, they want to hear from your teenager, your young adult, because this is part of gaining independence. They need to learn how to do this for themselves. And it can feel very threatening to them. So you could say something like, instead of, you need to ask your advisor, blah, 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 you can rephrase that using declarative language and say something like, I wonder if it would help to let your advisor know the times of day that your energy is the highest when they're scheduling your classes. Also, talking through meals, downtime, and social pacing together. Like, talk about this before they go to college. Ask things like, what feels doable today? Or, help them to remember to ask themselves that. And if they contact you in the morning, first thing, which, some might, they're feeling homesick, they give you a call, just maybe ask them what feels doable today. Or in a more declarative language way, you could say, I wonder I wonder what you think you feel up to today. I can tell you this was a big challenge for my kiddo in her first week. She made new friends and, they were, which was great, by the way, right? Like that's what you want. You want your kid to be in this new place and to instantly make friends because being in community makes things so much easier. And she did. So that was fantastic. But these are the type of kids that want to do it all before classes begin. They have this welcome week going on right now before classes start on Monday, and they are in Chicago. So, the other students want to go shopping on the Mag Mile and hit the beach and go to Navy Pier and do all the things, which is fantastic. But Maya found out that she needed to learn to listen to her body, pace herself so she could balance out her energy in, energy out, because not everyone has the same capacity. And that goes for everyone, neurotypical, neurodivergent. Everyone is different, and you don't want to hit the wall. And that's a very hard lesson that I think almost all of our college students learn. But it was very important for her because, you know, she hit the wall in her first week, which was good before classes even started. I mean, I was glad. But when she hit that wall, she and I had collaborated on this. We had talked about it quite a bit before she went to school. So I didn't need to tell her what to do. I would not have, but there was no telling her what to do. There was no shaming her for making mistakes. And I didn't need to feel helpless or extremely stressed out because the prep was already done. We already had anticipated that she would probably hit a wall. And here's the supports that she could use, and they were already there for her. Another way to collaborate is through building systems that are low demand but high support. And this could include using technology tools. So it's different for every kid, but with college, first of all, we think about technology that can help in their classes. So note-taking software and other types of in-class or homework type accommodations or testing accommodations that they can reach out to the disability services staff and get help with that. So they want to do that before classes start. So not only do they feel safer advocating for themselves as they move into classes, but they also just have the knowledge that these accommodations are allowed and they're in place and it's okay to use them. And they know that they're there, and it just kind of it's a security for them. They'll feel safer with that. We can also provide support outside of the classroom with demands that could be very stressful for our teen. So, one of the things that I did before my teen went to college was to think about what in her daily life brings her stress. What demands are there that is there any possible way that we can make them lower demand when she goes to school, when she's on her own? Even if it costs me a little bit of money, I want to be able to support her in the best way that I can because it'll cost more if she falls apart and leaves school. So, for example, one of my favorite supports is the Hero medication dispenser. The Hero is this automated device that sorts and dispenses medication according to a schedule that you set up. It's part of a subscription based medication management service by the company Hero Health. And the great thing about it is that it also includes a connected mobile app. So seriously, I cannot stress how much stress relief this dispenser has given both Maya and myself, even before she went to school, because we started using it during the summer so that she would understand how it worked. She'd be used to it. She was in that routine, and that piece wouldn't be stressful. So the Hero, it takes the executive functioning and the demand out of managing meds. It tells my child, it literally has like a little I would say alarm, but it's more like a very soft dinging. It tells my child and me. I get a notification on my phone as well, even on my Apple Watch. It notifies both of us when it's time to take the meds. It tracks if they've taken their meds, and it even notifies both of us if there are any meds that are running low. And if your kiddo takes more than 2 or 3 medications, you know that it can just be so, so overwhelming. And this dispenser just takes something seriously overwhelming and it makes it feel simple and safe for both of us. And that's the goal of collaboration. It's not to push independence at all costs, but to co-create a system that lowers demands while honoring their autonomy. Because when the world already feels too big, a scaffolded, low demand environment, it's not a crutch, it's a lifeline. Whenever we talk about transitions, the spotlight seems to usually be on the kids. How are they going to adjust? Will they cope? Can they handle it? But there's another part of the story, and that's us, the parents. So, for many of us raising PDA kids, our nervous systems have been on high alert for years. For myself, it has been well over a decade. I've been the one who has been scaffolding. I've been the safety, the one to step in when the meltdown hits or when the overwhelm is too much. That's me. So our bodies are so used to being in that constant state of readiness. And then this transition comes, college, a job, moving out, and suddenly they're not under our roof anymore. We're still scaffolding, but it's different. We're scaffolding from a distance. It might be through the phone. It might be FaceTime, texting, phone calls. Maybe it's through an agreement about how they'll reach out to us when they need us. But here's the truth. Our nervous systems don't know that. They're still wired to anticipate the next crisis. And when it doesn't come, or when it comes in a different form, we can feel so off balance. It is the strangest feeling ever. It is so hard for me to put it into words, but it is such a strange feeling. It's almost like you don't know who you are anymore without that constant state of responding. And that's part of our transition too. So we're learning how to regulate ourselves. We're learning how to step back without abandoning. We're learning how to find our own identity outside of being this hands-on scaffolder 24/7. So like I said earlier, as PDA parents, we're always evolving. Our parenting style is shifting and shifting because our kids' nervous systems, they just keep shifting. So what worked last year, more than likely, it won't work now. In fact, what works today probably won't work tomorrow. And that flexibility, it's not a sign that we're inconsistent or that we're doing it wrong. It's actually the strength of parenting kids like ours. We grow right alongside them. So as we think about big life transitions, here's what I want you to take away. Scaffolding is not failure. It's how our kids grow into themselves step by step. Safety cues are not extras. They're nervous system essentials that make the unfamiliar feel survivable. Collaboration, it isn't about control. Collaboration is about lowering demands while honoring autonomy. And our growth as parents is part of this journey too. We're learning to evolve as well. We're learning to regulate ourselves and to find new identities as our children step into theirs. If you're in the middle of a transition with your child, whether it's a new school, a first job, or something else, remember that dysregulation doesn't mean failure. These ups and downs are part of the process. Expect them, they're going to happen. This path is hard, right? It's been hard since day one, but your presence, your love, your being is enough. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Take gentle care of yourself, and see you next time on the PDA Parenting Podcast.